Ah!
What is up, everybody? This is your boy Blue, and this week's video we will be doing a Blues Budget Battle Brews. Now, I understand that you guys are mostly here for either the Crackin Pack series or for the Commander stuff, but there was a movie quote once that said you have to sometimes do the video that you don't want to do to be able to do the video that you do. The reason why I say this is because these decks are the actual reason why I'm able to do this. I sell these decks, as you all know. It's a $20 deck, and they have to be, I sell them to fund my ability to crack more packs and to be able to put the decks together that are the better videos. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. This week's video, and actually this week, next week, and the week after, I've got 3 set up because I have to get them done. The plan is to do 3 budget battle brew decks videos and hope that in the process, during the Crackin Packs videos, I open some of the cards I need to do an updated version of the Scarab God or maybe even another new deck that you haven't seen yet. So, this week's video, as I said, we're going to be doing discard, mono black, discard control. So let's get into the deck, and then I'll give you a very small, brief way that you can upgrade the deck and make it a little bit more powerful. So remember, $20 budget deck for sale. It's not going to have the creme de la creme, the $20 cards that you need. It's going to have a whole bunch of things for a cohesive strategy. And the strategy here is literally to just make your opponent's hand go bye-bye, control the board, destroy anything that does get through past your discard, and then start swinging in with a very few creatures that I have. So let's go ahead and show you the deck. So we start off with, and we're going to start off with zooming out apparently. All right, we start off with a Liliana Spectre. It's 3 to cast 2/1. It has flying, so it has evasion. And when it enters the battlefield, each opponent, hopefully you're only playing 1-on-1, each opponent discards a card. Fits the theme, is a 2-power beater with flying and with evasion. So there is a play set of those. The first rare is a Dream Stealer, so it's 3 to cast, 1/2 with Menace, again more evasion, and then whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards that many cards. So if it's got 1 power, it's 1 card. If it's for some reason got 2 power, it's 2 cards, and so on and so forth. It eternalizes, which means that if it gets removed, you can cast it from your graveyard for the eternalized cost, and it comes into play as a 4/4. So evasion plus recurring. Hypnotic Spectre, the second rare of the deck. It's hippie, as you know, some of you know, some of you don't. It's called hippie. 3 to cast, 2/2, again flying, so more evasion. When it deals combat damage to an opponent, that player discards a card at random. Alright? So, those are the creatures. Now, let me explain something to you real quick. So, the strategy here is to keep their hand down as far as possible, right? So, keep them discarding stuff, and some stuff will get through. The main plan here is to get them into what's called top deck mode, where they're playing cards from the top of their library and playing, and hopefully you have answers to whatever they play. If they play land, great, you're ahead of the game. If they play a creature, destroy it, okay? That's the plan. Hopefully anything else they play won't really matter. So let's go over the discard real quick. Play set of Duress. So this is like the starter, beginner, how to do discard deck, Duress. So it targets an opponent, they reveal their hand, and then you choose a non-creature, non-land from it. So anything that's not a creature and not a land. So this is the other stuff that's going to be harder to get rid of because, you can kill creatures, but black doesn't kill enchantments easily anyway. Or artifacts for that matter. So play set of those. Lay Bare at the Heart, it's the 2 to cast 1. Target opponent reveals their hand, and you choose a non-legendary, non-land card. So again, we can't get rid of lands. It doesn't really matter anyway. Lands usually don't win in tabletop or kitchen table Magic. It doesn't really have all that much of an impact without the rest of the cards in the deck. So your hope is to get rid of them. I got 2 of them. Next 2-drop is Distress, or 2 mana value card. Target player reveals their hand, and you choose a non-land card from it, and that player discards it. So again, now you can start hitting creatures. Got 4 of them, and another 2 to cast is Hymn to Torok. So target player discards 2 cards at random. So now you can hit lands, and there's 2 of them in there. The 3 mana value one is a Mind Rot. They just choose and discard 2 cards. So again, your hope is to get their hand down to 0. Got 4 of them, and then Awaken the Erstwhile. Each player discards all cards in their hand. So if for some reason they're playing a lot of blue draw and you just can't get it done, make them drop their hand. Now the caveat to that is that each player just creates a 2/2 black zombie creature token for each card discarded. The hope here is that this is just a response to somebody just getting a lot of cards in their hand, and hope that you have enough in your hand that you can block all their 2/2s. Executioner's Capsule removal, like I was talking about before, it's an artifact, so it's a permanent that comes into play for 1, and then you can pay 2 to and sacrifice it, and then destroy target non-black creature. Obviously, if you're playing against somebody who's playing black, you're going to change them out. Reeve Soul destroys a creature with power 3 or less for 2. Assassinate destroys a target tapped creature. That's for response. It's in response, obviously. Got 4 of them. Eviscerate just destroys target creature for 4, so it doesn't really matter if they're attacking or not. In Garrick's Wake is the board wipe, so it's 9 to cast, which is a lot. This is the foil for the deck also. It destroys all creatures you don't control, so if for some reason you have to play Awaken the Erstwhile, and then they have a lot of cards in their hand compared to you, but you get an in Garrick's Wake, you can wipe their board, so basically they get no benefit out of it. The damage part, this is where the damage comes in through the enchantments and other things, other permanents. We start with Shrieking Affliction. I've got 2 of these in here. So it says at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 1 or fewer cards in hand, they lose 3 life. So there's 2 of them. Magrim, whenever an opponent discards a card, they take 2 damage. There's 2 of them. And then Davriel is in here. There's 2 of these in here. So it's a 3 to cast Planeswalker that has 3 loyalty. You're probably, I mean, you can use the ability. It does fit the theme of the deck. It's basically in here for at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep. If that player has 1 or fewer cards in their hand, Davriel deals 2 damage to them. So that's where the damage is going to come in here. And then, of course, the rest is just basic lands and some Evolving Wilds. The Evolving Wilds are to help teach you how beneficial fetch lands can be, as I always say. You know, even if it's just the beginner level of Evolving Wilds, which is the shitty version, sorry, but it's budget version because most of the fetch lands are $20 off the bat just for themselves. It helps you learn to thin your deck out of bad draws later by getting lands into play, blah, blah, blah. If you need to know more about that, just send me a message and we'll go over it. So, and I think it's 18 Swamps and 2 Evolving Wilds. So that's the deck in a nutshell. It's a $20 budget deck. Again, it's for sale. It's mono black control, hand control, if you will, or hand destruction. And I'm going to go into a small upgrade section on how you can make this deck even nastier. And again, remember, this is for kitchen table. This is not a formatted thing. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Alright, so to get started on that, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go through some of the creature changes you can make. The first one that you can make, and this will really bump the cost up of the deck, take out the Liliana's Specters and trade them out for Griefs, the card from Modern Horizons 2. You can change out the Hypnotic Spectre and the Dream Stealer and put in 2 Nezumi Short Fangs. They will help the deck run a little bit more efficiently as well. I have to mention real quick, though, you can also change in maybe instead of the Nezumi Short Fangs for either, you know, Liliana's Reapers. It's a 4/3. It has, I think, Death Touch, and then when it hits an opponent, they discard a card and you create a 2/2 zombie. It's always nice to be able to create your own creatures for free, basically. Or you can do, like, Turgid, God of Fright, so that when you're making them discard those cards, you get them instead, okay? As far as the discard goes, and this is where the deck really gets expensive, okay? So I'm going to mention first, depending on what your meta is, you can change out the Duresses for, like, the Vest or Harsh Scrutiny, depending on what your opponent's playing. So if it's more based on creatures, and lately it's been Magic's leaning that way towards more creature, like, killing, or, I'm sorry, winning with creatures. So that's where Divest will come in, and maybe Harsh Scrutiny will be as well. I would add 2-handed Taurox and replace 2 Distresses with that because of the same casting cost. On top of that, if you want to, you can also take out 2 more Distresses and the 2 Lay Bears, Lay Baron Hearts, and add in a playset of Inquisition of Kozilek's, which, again, monetarily are expensive, but they're a little bit better. You can take out all 4 Mind Rots, and we're going to... I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The 2 Distresses and the 2 Lay Bears you take out and you put in a playset of Thoughtseizes. So much better as far as that goes. And then you can take out the Mind Rots and put in a playset of Inquisition of Kozilek's. Alright? Those changes are rather pricey. I just got to tell you that right now. But it makes discards so much better. On top of that, you've got ways to kill things. Because obviously you're not going to be able to hit every card that they're going to be able to play. Especially if they're in top deck mode. And they just happen to top deck something that's really nasty and play it before you can get them to discard it. So as far as the destruction of creatures, you can take out the 4 Assassinates, and you can replace that with, like, Fatal Pushes. So if they're doing White Weenie, which is obviously very popular in tabletop, or any kind of weenie like Goblin Horde or Goblins in general, Fatal Pushes take care of low mana cost creatures for 1 black. They also take care of other ones in case you've gotten a board state out. They can actually take out a little bit higher converted mana cost stuff. But for the most part, that's for quick start, people who can get through your discard quickly. You can take out the 2 Soul Reaves and the 2 Eviscerates and put in the following couple of things. So you want to trade down the mana cost of your creature destruction. So you have things like Cast Down, which destroys a non-legendary creature. You have Heartless Act, which can either destroy a creature with no counters, or maybe something that has counters on it, you can take 3 off, but you're probably going to just destroy something with no counters. So, and there's a bunch of other little things that have caveats to them that cost 2, like, for instance, like Terror or something like that, which destroys a non-artifact, non-black creature. It depends on what your meta is around you, depends on what you're playing. If you're playing kitchen table, you'll know your opponent very well and what they're going to be playing. It's probably your brother, your sister, your father, your mother, a friend. So you're going to know all that stuff. So you'll change out for that. Also, on the destruction side, we're going to take out the Engarrick's Wakes and the Executioner's Capsules for probably one of the best, like, overall creature destruction spell for board wipes. That's Damnation. Okay. And then for damage, and this is where it gets really important because you need to get damage through. You're not very creature heavy. You're anti-creature or control at this point. So you can do a couple things, and there's a couple ways you can go about doing this. So first suggestion I would make is take out the 2 Megrims and the 2 Shrieking Afflictions and put in 4 of the rack. So it helps do a lot more damage over time. It's a permanent that stays in play. And it doesn't rely on anything but what your opponent's current hand size is. Because if you've got them down to 0 cards, upkeep comes, it's untap, upkeep, and then draw. So they're not drawing the cards, so they'll be still down to 0 cards when the rack triggers, okay? I'll have them all up here for you to see as well. The other direction you can do is you can actually take out the Megrims and just add in 2 more Shrieking Afflictions if you want to do it that way. It might actually benefit you more because it's a 1 to cast, it's a 1 drop, just like the rack. And it relies on their hand just always being down instead of like top deck mode. If they're in top deck mode, you're in good shape. Okay. And that basically is it for the upgrades. I don't have a lot of lands that you can change in here. I mean, other than maybe throwing in actual fetch lands to thin your deck out. Other than that, there's not really a whole lot. There's not a lot of discard centric non-basic lands in black that really help the deck. So that's about it. The point of all this, though, is to basically bring all of your mana costs down and make the punch that you do with the discard a little bit harder. So, and that's all I've got for you for this week. Next week, we're probably going to be doing, I don't know, something a little different. I've got 5 decks I can do. I'm going to try to do something a little weird and a little off and show you that there's a way to do things outside of the color that's normal. So, but we'll get into that next week. For this week, that's it. I want to thank you for watching. If you have any questions or concerns, please go ahead and send me a message. You can either send me a message on the Facebook page. It's bluebearsgames on Facebook. You can send me an email at bluebearsgames@gmail.com. Or you can send me a message here, and you can ask me anything. If you want to purchase a deck, we can go over that. If you have a question about anything I put in here, you can go over it. Anything you need to know. So, other than that, please do me the favor, like the video. It's kind of like one of those things where the more likes I get, the more visible it is on the analytics side for them on YouTube, so that would be nice. Subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. I got a lot of content coming up for this year. It's a new year, and I'm starting to plan things out a little bit further out. We've got a couple of budget battle brew decks coming. I've got some updates on some old decks for Commander. I've got some new budget Commander decks coming out, and of course, I'm going to be opening a pack every day for this year. And I've decided that, actually. I'm actually going to mention it. I decided that this year I'm going to do that. I'm going to open up a pack every day for the rest of the year. So stay tuned for all that. And other than that, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. And I will see you all next week. Have a good one.